See, I want to know about this caps lock thing versus caps lock. I want you to explain to me, what the difference is between a caps lock and a caps lock. Well, that would be one explanation. But somehow I don't think that key is on your keyboard. Just saying.
Yes, but it steps on my keyboard, and that's
okay. That I believe. What is a cat but a device to attach to your keyboard to cause trouble?
they cause trouble. They've been rampaging, and Mama's tired of them.
Mama's sick of them, so she sent them upstairs to you for you to deal with them.
Yeah, she said they can be on the podcast. Make them go up on the podcast.
So if you're new here, which is always possible, there is an unofficial drinking game which we do not endorse and do not suggest, and this is only satire parody, that if we were in college in an alternate universe and very self-destructive, we'd be taking a drink every time a cat came on screen. However, we do not endorse that, recommend that, or anything else, especially since he's got kittens in the house and you would die. So we'll just kind of let that go, as it were.
Yep, the 3 kittens are upstairs. That's Cleo on my shoulder, and that was Sassy that I showed you. And her brother Dorian is over here laying nearby. They're all tired from causing trouble all day long and ready to cause a little bit more.
Yeah, they don't look tired. They look like they're, still in the in the frenzy of kittendom. Frenzy of kittendom. Why haven't you written that book yet?
Because I got so many other books to write. I don't have time for all this shit.
You don't have time because you're writing other books? I don't believe
That's
you
right.
for some reason. I don't believe
I wrote
you at all.
50,000 words in the last 2 weeks, so I'll take it.
You did not write, you recorded.
No, I narrated. Or maybe I dictated. I dictated.
Dictated. Definitely dictated, yes. 50,000 words in 2 weeks?
15 days. That doesn't count the 2 days I had to stop for editing the previous book before it goes live. It goes live tomorrow. So I had to take 2 days to do that.
Cool. Well, congrats on the new book release. You do them so often, I just don't, and you don't really say much, and then they just kind of happen, and I found out about it after the fact and go, well, that happened?
And it's been happening pretty regular. About every 2 months, a book's coming out.
To be you in some ways. But
to be me in all ways.
Oh, no. I would not recommend that for anybody. I know you. No. No, we're not doing that. Well, you managed that. I've got, yep, here we go. Which one is this?
That's Dorian, since he's busy grooming himself rather than doing stuff. And that's Castor in the background, keeping an eye on him.
We have to keep track of all these new cats since they're now the new cadre, sounds like, that'll be in your office on a regular basis.
They're like interns. They're everywhere and causing trouble.
Drinking all your coffee. Oh, for crying out loud. Here we go. Terry is the crazy old cat lady, JR.
It's truth.
Absolutely. Absolutely is. Not the only one in the sci-fi world, but definitely a notable one. Notable only because of the number of cats, not for any other reason. So does this mean you've got, does this mean you're what, 2/3, 3/4 through the next book then?
I generally write 120 to 125,000 words before I start editing because I'll chop 20,000 words in my editing pass. 25,000 words.
All right, that makes sense.
So I have to aim a little high to make sure that I hit where I'm going to get for the final word count.
Well, I've got an ancient trap at over 90K. I see the end, and then I have to go write another 5 to 7K to shore up something at the beginning, and then another 5 to 7K somewhere in the middle, and then I'll be ready to rock. He'll be ready for the second draft. But I'm getting closer. Patrons are getting their audio narrated chapters. But that means that the old nasty decision is coming real soon, Terry.
What's that? What decision is that?
What the hell to do with it?
That's a tough question. You have yourself in a unique publishing bind, so yeah.
I can't even shit straight. It's got to go sideways. I
I'm pretty sure that's horrible, so we'll just let that sit.
I can't remember what movie that was, or the guy said something about you're so obstinate, I bet you shit sideways, something along those lines.
Here's Matt. He's decided that, he's got to be part of this. Matt, you've already missed all the cats. I don't know what you're going to do now.
Yeah, you missed all the cats. What the hell? I mean, I know it's like what 9 over there. It's 2100 over there. I think. I don't know what GMT is anymore. I'm so bad because of the freaking time bullshit. He's got a drink to catch up. Well, you should be on at least 8 or 9 sips by now. Yeah, 9 p.m. Okay.
I've got the 3 kittens up here, so they're kind of zooming around.
If you're looking for the terror train, Terry's got it in his office.
They have been getting into
train.
everything, tearing things open and sticking their faces where they're not supposed to be.
In other words, kittens.
Kittens.
Got it. What was I babbling about? Yeah, I can't do anything.
You're in a unique publishing bind.
So I was going over that list on my head this morning and basically wrote an essay, which was more of a whine. But I got to make that decision if I'm going to go full indie with this one, if I'm going to shop it, or what I'm going to do with it. That's really kind of the only 2 options, I think. There's not really any other options for me at this point. And I don't know what to do, man. I looked at everything it was going to take to get the book out indie and trying to price out everything it was going to cost in my skull. And putting that up against also the stuff I got to do for the rest of the Black series and trying to figure out how I'm going to massively pay for all that shit. So I don't really know what to do at this point. I haven't made any decision, but it's really just a question of where the focus is going to be. And as you have said, I've got enough distractions keeping me from getting the books done. And when I half-ass these other things, it's just going to be worse. Seems like I'm going to be all in or all out. And I just have not made that decision to go all in yet. Because I'm too fucking lazy, I think.
Hey, ST, glad to see you.
Howdy. I don't need to buy back the black. I have the black. Fireside Audio has the audio rights. I have the black. It is mine. I have other reasons why I haven't republished the other 2, let alone the 2 that are already finished and the last one that hasn't been finished yet. There are currently some other production issues going on with that. So that is the easy answer, is that would give me some breathing room, big time breathing room. But I can't do that right now for reasons that are kind of beyond my control. So I got to wait on that one. Crowdfunded, that was the other thing I thought about this morning, Terry. And we talked about that. You've supported some Kickstarters for some smaller books.
Mm-hmm.
The authors were looking to get all this stuff. Hey, Patrick. Terry has some wonderful things to tell you very soon, but I'm going to get back to what I was saying.
When we get back to mine here, talking about my stuff, I can go ahead and fill him in on all the nasty details.
So that's the other option, but that means I got to do all that shit. So again, another mess, another nightmare.
Remember, set your goals low with that kind of Kickstarter, if that's what you're going to do.
I set my goals low with everything at this point. It's the only way I
not
could
your
possibly
standards,
keep them.
not your standards, your goals.
Again, goals. That's what I said. I set my goals
Standards
low.
are not goals.
I'm not saying
don't equate the 2 things. I'm saying I'm more than implying. I'm outright saying your standards are too low. I'm insulting you on purpose, and you're missing it. How could this be happening?
Because I'm already self-denigrating as it is, and I don't recognize when that's happening anymore. I gotta be careful. You step on my ego. Anyway, that's pretty much where all of that shite is. So I'm still in the process of going through that morass. And then, of course, all the stuff that's come out about during the Penguin Random House crap. Some of the other interesting things that have happened this year with some small presses going belly up and other things that have gone on, other shenanigans. Yeah, everything just has landmine on it. It's like everything has more of a landmine on it than did before. Patrick said, I'm dead, aren't I?
Not yet.
That's too goddamn funny.
All right. So for me, I'm still writing on book 7 in the Last Hunter series. I'm about 50,000 words in. My writing goal for the novel is 125,000 words, so I'll hit the halfway point sometime next week, sometime in the middle of next week. If I can get my decks cleared and get things going well, then I can get this thing knocked out. I try to write between 4,000 and 6,000 words a day, and I usually hit that. So I anticipate wrapping up this novel probably the first week of January, getting it done, as far as the first draft.
Here's my question. Do you already know what the next book is after this one?
No.
Okay.
Why would I?
I
I don't know how this one's going to end. I have a general idea of what I think is going to happen on how this book ends, but I don't know for sure till I get there.
I was just asking if you're already thinking that far ahead now, because I was going to be really impressed and terrified at the same time that you've gotten it down to that
No,
process.
I tend to focus on the book I'm working on rather than thinking about it, because the next book is just going to be a follow-up to what I'm doing now. It just keeps the characters and takes the plot a little bit forward. Right now, I'm dealing with a number of different things going on in this particular book, including introducing Patrick as a smooth and suave assassin that slides through the shadows and people don't even see him there. He's that good. And I did read all 3 of the books in your series, Patrick, and I liked them a lot. So kudos on that. And I stole your technology for blanking out someone's face with electromagnetics so that I could go ahead and have your assassin be hidden with your own technology, and I think that's pretty amusing.
But, he'll still forget who the fuck you are when we take you to dinner.
Who are we talking about now? But don't worry, I'm sure you'll die soon. Probably near the end of the book.
Oh my God.
Unless I decide not to kill you, and then Lord only knows what's going to happen.
Actually, is this what's going to happen now? You're going to start naming ships after him that just kind of blow up, or would he need a stealth technology? It'll just be called the Tebby class?
No. If I don't have a ship that's just going to blow up when it's doing God only... The ship pulled out of the dock and blew up. That would be the J.R. Handley.
I was going to say. They started the new warp drive and they just basically imploded. There was nothing left of them. Yeah, there we go. Whatever happened to Patrick?
Get to the end of the book and go, weren't we looking for somebody?
That is a good idea for a character, though, right? Somebody, like we talked about this, somebody who's so unremarkable, it doesn't matter where they go, which is what you're talking about. But even on a grander scale, where they just kind of like fade in, even if you're being filmed, they just fade in. What in the hell? That one's Dorian.
That one's Dorian.
Okay. I'm going to
Since
get
he
one of them.
decided to show up, I figured I'd give him some pittance. He'd give me some butt.
There's a lot of cats and ass on this show. It's just this, is that like a genre? Don't you start tagging us on YouTube that way?
Cat butt? I think I'm going to get a cookie cutter that looks like a cat's butt.
I'm surprised you don't have a coffee cup that looks like a cat's butt.
I probably do somewhere.
Okay, that really scares me, actually.
But in any way, plot tweaking is what I've got in my title this time around. And the reason is because, as you know, I have a sequence of point of view characters that I rotate through. It's in sequence. And I've reached one of those point of view characters where I go, what the hell am I going to do with you for this scene that's still relevant? Sometimes it rolls around to where you're like, all right, I don't really have anything in mind for you that will advance the overall plot, so now I've got to come up with something.
Okay.
The problem is he's the Marine commanding officer on the ship, but the ship isn't actually doing anything yet. It's still just observing a system. So I haven't had an opportunity to put him in a place right now that he's doing something. I don't know what the ship is going to go forward and be doing. And so, but I still have to figure out what this scene is going to be about.
That's good advice, JR. JR says, kill a main character. Don't be a chump, Terry.
What would JR know about that?
Just hypothetically, would something terrible happening to this character fix your problem?
The circumstances they're in don't really leave an option for something terrible to happen to the
Even
character.
better, imploding spaceship. We just talked about this. He made the mistake of boarding the JR.
Yeah, that would be good. But however, I do need this particular character for a scene at the end of this book.
Oh, so, okay. Well, you made it sound like, all right.
No, I need to have him around. And that's the reason I pick all my point of view characters because they've got some growth or something that they need to accomplish. And so he's got something in mind that needs to happen, that he needs to be there for. But this one scene that I'm sitting at, I've got to come up with something that's interesting, on point, in character, and actually advances the plot. And I'm not sure what that is right now. I'll know by tomorrow because I've got to write the scene, but I stopped at 4,000 words today because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing with this, and I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Deadlines make it really easy to suddenly find inspiration.
They do. I have to have this book turned in middle of January-ish. So, yeah. About a month from now, this book needs to have been turned in. Give or take a little bit. So I've got to figure out what's going to happen. I don't have the time to let my muse tell me what's going to. No, I've got to figure it out.
Who the fuck has time for the muse? Uh-oh, Terry's going to select something. Oh, a cat butt pencil sharpener. When's the last time you used a pencil sharpener?
I think I may have been in middle school, maybe high school when I used a pencil sharpener. Probably high school.
I think the last time I used one was for a standardized test. Maybe. I guess that would have been high school. Holy crap. Scary.
Chuck's here.
Hey, Chuck. The ADD writer method. Yeah, pretty much. Attention deficit, and then you look at the bank account and suddenly you become very focused.
It's easier when I've got characters that are all in the same location doing something, but I've got the main character and the Marine off in one location and the other three in a different location. So for the stuff that's going on with the ship, it's either the commanding officer or the Marine. I don't have really any options. And it's the Marine's turn in the barrel, so I've got to figure out what he's doing and why.
I felt I had to put some scenes like that in Derelict to remind people that there were other folks running around doing stuff. And they always kind of felt a little bit superficial, but mainly because I hadn't spent enough time in those characters' heads. When I went back and read them, they fit okay just fine because they advanced things because there was something I needed them to see. But it always kind of like, oh God, I got to go back to this character. It felt like a instead of serendipitous, it felt like, oh, that's something I have to do. Kind of like where you're at right now. It's something you really need to do, but it's not, it's because I need to do it, not because my brain said, oh, this must happen too. You're coming back after the fact and going, okay, now I need something else to happen here.
The problem I think is because I don't have the characters doing anything in that sequence.
Exactly.
What's happened is they're observing a system that's occupied by the enemy. A decision needs to be made on how they're going to deal with them, and I'll almost certainly have something for the Marine to do on point with that. I think I know what I'll do with it, because there's something that I eventually want recovered from one of these ships when this fighting is over, and they're going to be probably at a lack for time to make it happen. So the Marines are going to have to go with the engineers to make it happen.
Makes sense.
And so having the chief engineer come and talk to the Marine colonel and them start making plans for what's going to happen is kind of important. And looking at the uniforms and other things with this ship, you may have noticed that there is some resemblance to Battleship Yamamoto
No,
in the
that
uniforms.
didn't. No, I didn't notice that.
You didn't
at
notice that at
all.
all?
No, no, not at all.
Well, earlier on, this is something in addition to that. Earlier on, like a book and a half ago, I had the ship get involved in a big fight with a ship that was using an anti-proton beam weapon. And so it punched a couple of holes in the ship, in the front of the ship. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and salvage one of those and stick that on the front of the ship. And then I suddenly realized that's the main gun of Battleship Yamamoto. So I unintentionally am going down that path.
There's so much pop culture brain damage that you've experienced. And then I look back and I think there's so much pop culture brain damage I've experienced. You're rewriting Battleship Yamamoto, and I'm sitting there stealing from my favorite horror movies to put together our own creatures and shit like that. We're kind of like those prisoners of pop culture, what we think is cool, and what we still think is cool, even as dated and maybe, I don't know what you want to call it, nostalgic as it is. It always seems a way to make it fresh and fun. It's just we know what we're calling back to. People who have the same experience we had will know what we're calling back to. Oh no. I'm going to ignore that comment, JR. Matt says, when you need a thumbnail for the show, you need the image of the cat sitting behind Terry's head looking at the camera. It would be better if the cat was squatting in a certain way on top of his head, but
How rude.
You're right. Your cats are rude, always flashing their asses. Mine, on the other hand, is very well behaved. He's completely crashed out on his favorite heating pad, aka the Mac Mini. He was alive and awake earlier. Terry can admit it. During pre-show, he was active once again. As soon as the show starts, he's dead asleep. See, my voice puts him to sleep too, so it's not just my listeners. I think really I have people out there listening to me because they're insomniacs. I think that's really what it is.
I'm pretty sure that if you look at the reasoning, there's a hashtag on your YouTube feed where it's just help stuff go to sleep.
A cure for excitement. Listen to Paul. You're getting very sleepy. Yeah, that's
the kittens are now rampaging up and down the hall. I can hear them running behind me.
I heard, believe it or not, your noise canceling isn't that good.
I'm not even sure that it's turned on.
I hear the pitter patter of tiny feet every once in a while, also known as a herd of cats, a herd of kittens. It really only takes like one kitten to create a herd of kittens.
Pollux, one of the two black cats that stays upstairs, is very happy that they're here because he goes tearing up and down the hall with them. He is very pleased at this circumstance.
Of course. That's usually how that works. So we are talking about things we like and why we write what we like and everything else, blah, 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 very, very shortly. We did, however, have an interesting thing come up during the pre-show.
What would that be?
Something about Tor and cover art.
We were talking just, what was it? The show last week we were talking about AI art.
Yeah.
And it hasn't even, other than the patrons who were here, been published, so nobody else has heard us talking about it. And yet Tor is already inadvertently, according to them, utilized AI generated art as the basis for one of their covers. And they're not going to change it because it's too late in the process. Personally, I'm not sure that's true, but it might be.
They claim they purchased the stock photography from one of these sites, and the stock photography was generated. So that basically that was the main element they incorporated into this design, and that they were unaware of it. That's their official statement.
That's what they say.
So take them at their word or not. But it brought up the all hell breaking loose on several platforms about artists freaking out about it, and then of course other people saying, get used to it, or you're going to be out of a job, and all this other nasty trollishness. It's like, oh, writers, you just can get replaced by an AI. Oh, yeah, I've been telling us coders that for how many fucking years?
I've been thinking about that, and the idea that AIs will be able to write fiction, at least in the short term, the time that I'm probably going to be a writer anyway, is ludicrous to me, because while they might string together words in a way that makes sense, they won't have the authorial voice in it. Every time you generate words, it's going to sound different.
I think slowly that it'll get better. It's taken leaps and bounds in just the last couple of years, so I'm sure it's going to improve upon itself. And we were talking about this in the pre-show, and I got very spirited, which is why we put off finishing that conversation, because we thought we should have it here. Was the fact that these AI models are actually being trained at this point, to my knowledge, on anything that's available on the internet. Anything.
Yeah, that's my understanding
as well.
They don't have
licenses for any of that. The argument is that it's on the internet, therefore it's public domain.
That's not the case. You can take something that's even not public domain, and as long as you make substantial changes to it, for art purposes, a transformative work, then it becomes something that is something you can use, even if it is not something they have a release for.
That's the argument for. Here's the argument against. Horseshit.
That's not an argument. That's a statement.
No, it's your argument is horseshit, because this is not the way that AIs work. We call AIs. It's machine learning. It's stupid. It's garbage in, garbage out. Mm-hmm. What it is doing is they train these things. It's not like there's an AI that goes out there and says, oh, today I'm going to create a picture of clouds and things, blah, blah, blah. No, they're drawing on billions of images that they don't necessarily have licenses to train the AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
And then on top of that, they're using that with new information to generate stuff based on your inputs.
And do you know what that's called in the image world? Fair use. Collages, which is something similar to what they're doing here, is still fair use of taking bits and pieces of images and using them however you like. It is still something that's legal.
But that's not what this is.
It's close enough to where good luck on getting a judge to see it any differently.
Well, then that's where I think we're going to run into some problems, because right now, and we were discussing this, the media companies, I think, are going to see this as a humongous threat, big time threat, for all sorts of reasons. Therefore, I don't think that it's going to be too long before there's some major legislation that's going to go after this, because the players are too big.
What do you think they might do?
I think we'll see an addendum to the copyright law or something similar, or what we're going to see is the media companies will force everyone to not use AI generated art for anything.
Well, when you say a addendum to the copyright law, amending it in what way? I'm trying to get to the details of what you're saying.
I think what they'll probably try and do is say that you cannot make or artificially generate media unless you have actual licenses to the images. That's how I would solve the problem. We talked about this. I would say that the AI has to be trained, and the only things it can use as inputs is stuff you have specific licenses for, and that those models have to be kept up to date.
Well, why limit that to AI art? Shouldn't you say all art must have, permission of the image holder, the image rights holder, to do the work? Because right now, you can take an image that someone else took, make transformative changes to it, and you can use it however you like.
And most of the art is being bought for commercial use is being got from stock photo
But it's not. You could take something that somebody published in a magazine, something that no one intended to release the rights to whatsoever, and make a transformative change on that image, and it would pass muster under current copyright law.
And therein lies the problem. There's going to have to be some kind of push and pull between these two things, because the nature of transformative work was intended for one thing, and now it's being used to be a completely different thing. And the argument is essentially they're going to be able to, if you're going to say that, then they can train. I could train a model on all the novels of Terry Mixon, shove all that stuff in there without trampling his copyright at all, because I'm just reading the stuff in there, and then have that as the basis to generate all new works. And it will capture your authorial voice. Trust me.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't.
It will enough. Over time, it will enough. So that's the situation I pose to you. At what point does it become a problem, in the sense that this is not something the law was designed to deal with, and it's not something society was built to deal with at this point?
So do you think that lawmakers should go after these types of works and make it so that AI generated art or books or whatever are verboten?
I don't think you can do that.
I think they could. They're lawyers. Most of the politicians are lawyers. I believe that they could, in fact, do that.
I could, in fact, see that they're going to be completely fucking stupid about whatever they do. But I would say that the problem is going to be the commercial side. And it's going to be the fact that ultimately they are basically using other people's works to feed into this machine that is going to be able to generate stuff out, constantly, 24 hours a day. All it needs to do is have electricity to do what it does. That's it. As long as it's getting new inputs.
I'm about to go ahead and put up a couple of comments from Matt on here, and I want to make it clear that all I was doing was asking questions to make you clarify what you were saying, not to say that I disagree with you, Paul. Because I actually agree with you on this.
Yes.
I am not a fan of the AI work, so I'll only throw up what Matt is saying here. Where would I stand on another writer writing in the Empire of Bones universe and not crediting me? And then he added, fanfic is fair enough, I suppose, but making money from your IP, different feel to that.
Yeah.
My answer is that I would send takedown notices and threaten lawsuits and follow through if need be, because that's how you protect your intellectual property.
Yeah. So we have a couple of issues here, which is, I think that the AI stuff is cool. I gotta stop calling it AI because it pisses me off. The ML stuff is pretty cool in that sense.
Machine learning. Okay, got it.
It's all ML. There's no AI here, guys. Stop calling it that, including me. It's cool in a lot of ways for recognition, for being able to make things, maybe even able to fix this engineering issues or provide some aesthetic clues and things like that. I think it's glorious that it may be able to help us discover what some things look like that we don't really have a good idea for, just based on patterns and whatnot. There may be some ways to use that even at a molecular level to decide things. I think those are great things. I think what I'm seeing out of the AI generated art is kind of cool and kind of spooky. But the ethical problem, I'm not denying some of it's not absolutely beautiful and some of it's not absolutely crazy. I'm not denying any of that. What I have a problem with is the ethics of it. There we go. Yeah, right. Unless the media companies buy in by licensing their data for AI training.
And that's what Patrick said.
Keep that in mind, because I'll get to that in a minute. So the ethics are basically that I know that's basically a stolen property. It's being automated. It's no different from running a botnet. It's spam. Essentially, it is visual spam, regardless of how you look at it. It is tearing other stuff apart and being pulled together. And as long as you know that's what it is, that's great. But you should not be able to sell it. You should not be able to make money off of it, because It was literally just handed stuff and stitched it together from whatever model it was. And then, like Patrick says, do you have a license for every piece of art that you used to generate this picture?
And I will go ahead and be the devil's advocate here and say, under current copyright law, you don't have to have that. As long as you're taking bits and pieces and making a transformative work that changes all of them, then you're still not breaking the copyright.
Again, this goes back to the dickheads when they had a chance to do something positive. They fucked everything up, called the Digital Millennium or Copyright Act. What they should have said in there is they should have had something about this. They should have foreseen.
It wasn't an issue then.
No, it wasn't an issue.
Politicians can't see what's going to happen a week in the future.
I know they can't see. Most of the people I know can't see five years.
Politicians can't see what happened in the last year.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Look, basically what we're going to have to do is they are definitely going to have to make some kind of law about this.
Disney's on that shit.
Disney will be all over that shit. And so will the EU. Believe me, the EU will probably be much more hard-nosed about it than the United States will be. But here's the caveat to what I just said. Here's what will happen. Disney will buy one of these companies, and Disney will feed all of its IP into the fucking thing. And then Disney will never have to hire another Star Wars writer, never have to hire another Marvel writer, never have to hire another Pixar animator, never have to hire anybody again, because everything will just be generated. You watch.
Matt
That's
says,
the mouse.
The hard part here is that any artist will tend to, quote, study, end quote, within their field. Yeah. In some ways, every book you've ever read will influence what you do, either by what you like and what you don't. And the answer that I have to that is it is absolutely true. We're all influenced by what we've liked and what we didn't like. And it's a different thing to be influenced by it and to take parts of it wholesale and reuse them.
Right. And like Matt says, machine language just does that in days of training rather than over a lifetime. Yeah. Fuck Disney. But seriously,
go universe, man.
I think I'm completely right about this. I think Disney or what, whatever media company, go whoever owns the other crap, Warner Brothers, whomever, that's what they'll ultimately do. That's what they would love to do. Cram all their IP in there and just have
Disney is already in trouble because they've failed to pay authors that wrote in-universe tie-in novels. Mm-hmm. And so they've already proven that they're more than happy not to pay creators.
No, creators are scum. So are animators. They're also scum. They don't deserve to get paid a dime. That's how that works. Fuck you, Disney. Honestly,
let me put that back up there on the screen for you. There you go.
I really think that's where that's ultimately headed. I really do. It would not shock me in the least if that's really what it comes down to. That that if anything, they come to an author and say, "We want to buy your universe," and they shove all your books in there, and then suddenly they got 10 things that they can shove out in a week.
Suddenly your main character is dressed like a Disney princess.
Yeah. And says golly gee willikers while humming a dwarvish tune. Yeah. Yeah. The porn though. The porn. Oh, could you just see basically taking all the 70s porn movies and then all Disney's cartoon IP, shove them together into a training model for an ML and see what it would come up with?
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and step out on a limb and say machine learning, when applied to porn, may actually increase the quality of the product.
It couldn't hurt much.
That dialogue could sure use some work.
Oh, God. The horror. Yeah. Yeah, no, they don't want to pay any creators. Doesn't matter if they're art, if they're animators, if they're authors, it doesn't matter. They just do not want to pay ever. They're horrible. Horrible. If you think that's a good company, you haven't been paying attention for the last 40 years. Leave it at that. And my wife used to work for Disney, so I have a lot of I have a lot of people that I've worked for or that my wife has worked for that I really do not have a high opinion of.
So basically, what you're saying is you're one of those poor minions that used to work for these companies and dress in the strange uniforms and be killed when the heroes showed up.
No, not at all. I'm the guy they brought in 6 months before they went out of business. Nobody cares about the dialogue in porn, Terry. Yeah, but when it's so bad that it just that you can't get into it,
there is a point where the dialogue becomes a detracting factor.
Yeah, pretty
please,
much.
You're like, please stop talking.
Oh my God. Oh, the places my brain went to. Please don't ever do that again.
And I wasn't even being dirty. I just was saying the dialogue is so bad I can't stand to listen to it. Please stop. I've seen movies that were not porn that were the same way. You were going, oh, please stop talking.
Oh God, Matt says, oh, until you've tried porn karaoke, you haven't lived. Porn karaoke? There is such a thing as porn karaoke?
Rule 34.
Why is there such a thing as porn karaoke? Why does that exist? Why is that a thing that you know about?
Matt was young. He needed the money.
I'm terrified, but curious. Jesus Christ.
So, with the potential for overreaction by lawmakers in the United States, when things like Disney or whoever is pushing this, do you think what do you think would be the outcome if they went ahead and basically outlawed this?
I don't think you can outlaw it like that.
Let's say they could, because I think they could. They could literally outlaw anything they like, and then it has to go through the courts.
Yeah, I think it'll get lost in the courts. I think what they could do is they could say that you're not allowed to sell it, and you're not allowed to use it for commercial sale. That I could see them doing. I think any other intent, or I think anything more than that, really runs the risk of being too prohibitive.
Then let's say they went ahead and banned AI-generated everything from commercial sales. Let's say that they could do that. What effect would that actually have?
I don't know. I honestly do not know. I don't know how prevalent the use of ML is in commercial enterprise at this point. I know what scares me. You stick on really 70s bad porn and give a man, a woman, a mic to provide the voiceovers. Oh my God, that's glorious. I take back everything I said. Now that is glorious. That would be a good party game. Adult party game. Well, maybe not. You know what? I'm going to stop talking.
You really should stop talking.
What really terrifies me is that if you go looking, you find out that these fuckers are really trying to bring this into existence. Completely generated everything off all of this stuff. And they're moving in that direction. And so basically,
go ahead.
If something doesn't change soon, this is going to become more than just a problem. It is going to be it will no longer be a minor traffic accident. It will be a freeway shutdown.
They can already take and generate an artificial actor doing things.
Yeah.
Mimic the voices, do the everything. How long until, actors are a thing of the past and all of the movies are done digitally with fake people?
I'd argue in some cases they've been doing that for years.
It would improve the quality of porn.
And some Tom Cruise movies. Okay. Anyway, then you got to get the question of what happens to voice actors and what happens when, because right now you can't do that because I don't think an AI, or excuse me, an ML system will be able to make the dialogue fit and match.
It's getting pretty close.
In this context, I don't know.
They've already got it so that
Patrick
artificial
says
voices.
if he was replaced by an AI, at least he could get his hair back.
I thought that was a feature, not a bug. So, what was I saying before that happened?
I totally interrupted you and derailed you. About actors.
Oh, audiobooks. They've got artificial voices that are doing narration for books that, while you can still tell they're artificial, they're getting significantly better to the point to where, with the click of a button and however many minutes it takes to run through it, you've got your supposed audiobook that's done by a non-human. And that's a threat to narrators.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And it's an issue here. And of course, there are some accessibility things to go along with that because disabled people are like, why should I be forced to pay for the audiobook when I can have the thing read the book to me aloud?
There's a difference between having a device read it to you as opposed to doing something that is so human-like that it becomes a product you can just put it on wherever to run with.
I completely agree. And it's where we get into these ethical gray areas where you kind of have to kind of judge. You really have to rethink how we think about copyright. We really have to rethink about what we think about performance. Inevitably, there's still a human back there making all this work. There's a human back there, or a cadre of humans, or entire catalogs of histories of art and fiction and music, all being coalesced back there into something that a human is controlling.
So, in the future, once humans no longer create anything because AI generates everything, then the AI bots are only going to cannibalize other AI created art.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
There will be no new creativity.
There will be nothing new coming out. And the other thing is, what people don't understand is I have yet to even think about an ML who is going to know how to break into that one refrain or take the story in that one direction that only whimsy can possibly make happen. Matt says it's already a big thing on YouTube. There's a whole slew of videos with AI voiceovers. That disturbs me greatly. It really does. Of course, YouTube disturbs me greatly. Yeah, fuck you, YouTube.
I suspect that if it becomes a real problem, the people that sell the things, like Audible, does not allow books that are done by artificial voice.
Right, and I think most of the stores are like that now. I think
it would not shock me if Amazon took a stand and said, at some future point, no, artificially generated books violate our terms of service.
Right. That'll be the next thing.
It wouldn't shock me if it happened.
No, I think it will happen. I think it will happen. And of course, the artists, industries, and et cetera, are already asking Amazon to commit to not allowing AI generated, ML generated artwork.
You might as well just stick with AI generated, because even though you have a distinction in that, the conversation that's widely happening is around AI works. That's what they're calling it. Even though it's not technically accurate, if you want to actually be on par with what everybody's talking about, you probably should use the same terminology.
Ignorant media inbred ignorance.
Ooh, that's pretty personal. And knowing some people in media, I think it's totally accurate.
Accurate.
Patrick said,
yeah,
he talked to some narrators at 20 Books that mentioned the lack of acknowledgement for the voices you used to train those AI voices.
Yeah. And that's a problem. That is a serious fucking issue. And that's really the problem. Who owns the model? And who owns what went into the model? Matt says text-to-speech can be monetized on YouTube through the use of AI voice actors. These voice actors can read the text of a script while you create video that is synchronized with the audio. Then he says the video can then be uploaded to YouTube and monetized through ads. What the fuck? JR says Joe Vasicek, I don't know, already sells robot voiced audiobooks for his stuff on his website. On his website. Right.
And I'm fine with people doing that. He's making that particular choice for himself. I'm not going to condemn that, but I suspect that the major players will be a long time in allowing it.
Let's see. Joanna Penn talked about licensing her voice for that stuff. Technically, who played Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars?
Peter Cushing, yes.
Okay. So Peter Cushing's likeness is tied up with Disney now, I guess, from now until perpetuity, as is James Earl Jones's voice, as is somebody else's. Maybe it's Alec Guinness. I don't remember. Anyway, they've got those images basically in perpetuity of those people. They have their likenesses in perpetuity. If you're paying for that, fine. If you're not getting paid for that, that's an issue. I guess that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying who owns the ML. And that's the problem I've got with this whole bullshit, is because it's not clear who owns it. And I think we're into a slippery slope that's going to drag us into fucking hell if we don't get this fixed very soon. Patrick says Google will let you use their AI voice narration now for free, but you have to put the audiobook up on their servers to distribute. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Also, fuck Google.
But don't they say do no evil?
Joe says he does it because he can't afford audiobooks otherwise. The price is a barrier to entry for most authors.
It's true. It's expensive.
It is expensive.
But pretty soon, it's going to be nothing but Susie the AI reading your narrated books.
Fuck that. I'll continue reading my shit until I'm, until I can no longer talk. Even if that's only a year from now or 15 years from now, I'll still be narrating in some capacity, because fuck that.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm not advocating the use of it. I don't think I'll ever use it.
I just thought
who knows? No. 10 years from now, I'll just be clicking the button to generate my next book. 1 week later, that book will be fully edited. They'll have an AI doing the narration. I'll barely even know what's in the book.
Terry, you barely remember what was in the last book you wrote, let alone the one
true.
you write.
Ask any of my readers. Didn't this happen? Didn't you kill that guy?
Is there any company Paul does like?
No.
No. There's not a single large company Paul trusts or likes, period. There's only ones he tolerates. Sometimes forced to tolerate. Oh, there's interesting. What about training an AI with your voice? You could save so much time.
No. You could policize your work immediately.
I don't think that's something maybe after I can no longer talk, I'll think about doing that. But
you can't train the voice then, because your voice will be toast.
No, I'll have hundreds of hours of podcasts and novels and audiobooks.
I think the training with that involves saying certain things that go into it in a certain sequence.
By the time I'm ready to do this, I think all I'll have to do is feed shit into it. So there you go. Bribed with coffee. Like I said, for research purposes, it would be fascinating if I were to feed all of my IP into one of these models and have it trained on that and see what it spat out. It would just be funny to see what it is, what it would do.
Then you could feed it a script from a 70s porn.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. If you could feed like all the Warner Brothers and Disney cartoons from the 40s through the 60s, and with 70s porn, I would love to see the results. Oh my
I would
God.
Not. I think I might go blind.
I'd love to see its take on the Roadrunner Coyote relationship. Oh, let that one go for now. Anyway, that's all the shit that we were talking about ML. So I wanted to we were talking about that pre-show, and I thought that we should probably bring that up because it really is something that we need to start thinking about as creators and where we kind of stand on this. And I understand people are saying, "Hey, you guys are just you've just become the Luddites. You know, you're going to be throwing your wooden shoes at the machinery to break it." Not really. This is kind of different, very different. To make this relevant to Terry, you need to feed it 1930s porn. Ow, God! Ooh, I don't know. Flappers were up to some stuff. Well, that have been 20s porn. What do you think about that? Matt says, "Oh God, could you imagine being the Coyote's therapist?" Patrick says, "To be honest, I've considered using AI narration for free reader magnets, and if it proved there was a market, probably Kickstarter for a live narrator of the full books."
I can see the validity of something like that.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting to see what happens because in the short term, it's really going to tear up the scenery, what's happening with the AI art. And I fully expect Congress critters and politicians around the world to stamp their say on it in the next couple of years. And it wouldn't shock me if different countries went different directions with it.
I'm betting the EU is going to come down really hard on this and probably much more restrictive than the United States. And they'll probably do it far before the United States does anything about it.
Wouldn't shock me.
So that's my my prognostication.
Still, since I don't know that what the art market is like, I would imagine the U.S. is probably the primary market folks like that would be aimed at. That's going to have probably a limited effect.
You might be surprised.
I might be.
You might be surprised. Anyway, yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that in the future, in the very near future. There's going to be a lot of discussions about this. But if you weren't aware of it, wanted to make you aware of it, that this is the stuff that's going on. There are arguments pro and con. You know, you're free to make your own decisions. We've pretty much said why we think it's icky, but you know, that's about it. So on the writing side, what are both of your 2023 plans and goals?
Oh, my goals are easy. Write 6 more books in the Last Hunter series. See, that was easy.
Yeah, that's really easy. Must be nice to have a sugar daddy series. Must be really nice to have one of those. I'll have to try and you know, see if I can make that happen sometime. See, you're easy. 2023 for me is a train wreck. I got to get Arrival, I got to get Outbreak, and I got to get Evolution published. All 3 of those books in 2023, and I need to get An Ancient Trap published, and I need to write at least 2 more books, as well as finish The Black Extinction. That's everything I've got to do next year. I don't know what those other 2 books are going to be. I have not a clue, but I know that I'll finish An Ancient Trap this year, and probably have it ready for an editor probably by January 1st. And the question is going to be, what the fuck do I do with it? And I don't know the answer. So that's basically the deal. But that's my 2023 goals. We'll see how many of them I actually meet.
Well, how many books do you hope to actually write in 2023? Just pick a number out of the air. It doesn't have to be, you know, specific works.
I want to write 2 plus finishing up Extinction, which is going to take another probably 30 to 50,000 words to do. Probably 1 more. It kind of depends. Depends on what I decide to do with this book, because I could see if Gravity's Bane is possible to do, but things have kind of changed around that, so I'm not really sure what I want to do yet. And I haven't had any discussions with the publisher, so there you go.
I'm very nervous.
Because you haven't heard them and don't know where they are?
It's very quiet, and I can't see a cat anywhere.
I kind of figured. That was going to be an issue. Uh-huh. Yeah. So when you hear all the smashing and crashing going on in Terry's office, there you go. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah. We want more Empire books, Terry.
Yeah, so do I. I've got to meet this other schedule, though, and until I can build up a little bit of time, I can't make that happen. But if I can't build up the time to do an Empire book in the middle of this, before I start another series, I'm going to at least get the Empire to a holding point before I start next series.
Yeah. God, I just want to get the Black finished. Just finished, done, off, gone. I think my world would be so much better if I got the last 5 books out. JR says, I want to write 4 novels in my Cursed Brigade series. I might try my hand at smut for profit. Smut for profit? What do you think?
Yes, but the problem with that is you have to go with the sexual fantasies of one J.R. Handley to make that work, and I think that's probably problematic.
You know, now I got like a classic 30s sci-fi karaoke porn going, and now it's frightening. Very frightening. Where basically all the dialogue of the porn has to be grabbed from 30s sci-fi serials. Or 40s, whenever those were. Matt says, not only are there no cats on camera, there are no cats moving the camera or crying in the background. Terry be very afraid. Very, very afraid. Yeah, pretty much. Writing goals are going to have to be based on what happens with this, that, and the other. If an ancient trap sells for whatever reason and does okay, then I'll probably write another adventure sci-fi thriller. I have a couple of those in mind. I just kind of have to decide what I'm going to write next. I'm writing under the pen name of Paul Mixon. No, you're not, JR. Stop it. Paul T. Mixon. Has a good porn sounding name to it. Paul T. Mixon.
That's a terrible porn name. He needs to have something, about his junk size in there somewhere. I mean, think back to the bad old days. You've got Long Dong Silver.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to admit I know what the fuck you're talking about because I just don't want to go down that road.
You don't want to go to that road, but you know who that is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're a terrible liar.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I may never have raided somebody's porn stash when I was far too young to be looking at that shit. That may never have happened. We call check. Oh, here we go. Yep, down into the sewer.
It's a really good thing that Veronica's not here. It's a really good thing. Because Paul would be going like, I don't know who that is. Who's that, Veronica?
Speaking of, if you didn't hear the announcement, Veronica Jaguar is joining us as a permanent third chair starting in the new year. So
she's at a bowling tournament right now, so she can't be here today.
So we'll be breaking up the sausage fest. And bring a very well needed, very much needed viewpoint.
I'm not sure how she would wrangle this particular conversation back under control.
I don't think there's a way to wrangle this conversation. I had topics, but now they're completely fucked. So, we're all kind of done with that shit. Now we have to come up with something else to talk to. We can title the book after Terry. We'll call it Bad Santa. I think that's already taken, dude. Oh. Matt says, so do you think modern porn is suffering because the actors don't get the same amount of credit anymore? There's no pressure to come up with good stage names.
All the really good names have been used. I mean, come on. Now they're having to really stretch the metaphors a little bit. I probably shouldn't have said stretch. Phrasing!
Probably should. There's so many words you should not use. Oh, God. I was talking to somebody the other day, and everything we said was phrasing. It was so bad. And it wasn't intentional. I was looking for other words and it just wasn't happening because I knew I was going to get called out on it. And every time I tried to make it better, it just got worse. Will this be more or less episodes? The plan
Well,
is
go ahead.
the plan is we're still going to have 3 to 4 episodes a month, and it will be easier to manage them. There's a lot of things that may change come the new year that we talked about on Patreon last week.
If we're behind on the number of shows that are coming out, it's because of production issues. And Paul needs to stop editing so much and just put them out. Not that we've had this discussion before.
Need to use AIs to come up with good porn star names. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there is a name generator for porn names. It's been around a long time, a really long time, actually. God, I think we were looking at those back in the .com days, and that was 22 years ago, 23 years ago. My God. Ugh. I think the reason why nobody has porn names anymore is because does anybody actually look at real porn anymore? That's not like amateur, so to speak, or do the names even matter?
Let's see. I found one and entered Paul's name in there, and I'll tap that into the comments.
Do not use that word in conjunction with my name, okay? Do not say tap Paul E. Cooley. Just do not do that. You spread them. Oh my God, that's horrible.
Let's see what it says for me here. What do we got here? Oh, I like that name. I think I may use that name.
If you donate through the Buy Me a Coffee, will we get the same benefits as Patreon subscribers? Yes. Go to our BMAX site and look at it. BuyMeACoffee.com/DRS podcast. All that shit's listed. Dirk Spankalicious is for Terry Mixon. Wow. Wow. I got nothing. I just, wow. I mean, it just, wow. Don't do that.
Okay, well, she's not here, but I've got to enter her name anyway.
Oh,
so there we go.
I hope she doesn't watch this later.
Oh my gosh, that's a totally inappropriate name.
Oh, but Hugh Spreadham's okay. Dirkalicious. Fakealicious. Oh, no. Oh, that's just wrong.
I know, isn't it?
Methinks their name generator needs some work.
And there's no button here to say which gender to use, so obviously that's a problem.
Yeah, it would be a problem. It would be a problem. It would be a problem. Go figure. What else were we gonna say?
I think it's pretty funny that your name on the screen is Climax Cooley, because that could be a porn name all by itself.
You're right. The sad part is I had that same title in there last week because I'm still trying to get through the big fight at the end. It just will not stop. It just keeps going. Veronica is a mother trucking lady. She's a lady. We love her. ST says, my wife has warned me several times if my books don't start paying the bills, I need to write Dino Erotica under the name Virginia Taken. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, that's good. Oh, God. That's a good pen name. That is a good pen name. Terry, you already had a pen name for that stuff, for the naughty stuff.
I did. I had two pen names.
That's
one for
funny.
the moderately straightforward stuff and one for the fetish stuff.
One for the kinky stuff.
One for the kinky stuff.
Branding.
Gotta have that branding.
I thought about this the other day for a certain Garaga tie-in novel that I could go I could write it with all the explicit sex and then sell two versions. There's the version for these people, and then there's the version for these people.
Wow.
JR says he also writes Yeti Erotica as Cole and Spack.
I'm sure that the authors in question there with those names have no objection to you you using their names as part of your own mashup. I'm sure it's fine.
Jesus Christ.
Nick and Jason are okay with that. They're all right.
I don't know who those two names belong to, so those authors he put together, is that basically what that is?
Yeah, they write together.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad.
I think he may be making this up. I don't think that's actually real.
No, he's just messing with us because that's what he does. ST says he's learned over the years not to question the things that come out of his wife's mouth.
Phrasing?
JR says Terry uses the word fetish. I don't think that word means what he think it means.
I absolutely think it means what I think it means.
Think it means. We're not talking about a witch doctor's fetish. We're talking about the other context. Oh, your publishers.
Do they publish your porno stuff? Because I'm betting that wouldn't fly well.
When are you going to write sci-fi porn?
I don't know that I've ever written sci-fi porn.
That's why I said, when are you going to write some sci-fi erotica, man?
Who has time for that shit? I don't have time for that.
Tobias Reed has time for that.
That's all he ever writes. Okay, I don't know that that's true. He might write other stuff.
Is there anybody else that you know of that actually writes sci-fi erotica?
I don't really know a lot of people that write erotica, so I can't say.
I think Nobilis is still doing his podcast, Nobilis Erotica, if you don't know what that is, and almost everything on there is some kind of sci-fi or fantasy erotica stuff. It's kind of interesting. Interesting blend of genres. When am I going to write my horror erotica? Erotic body horror. Oh no, is he really going? Is he really going with this? Jared says, you know that 50 Shades is vanilla now. You got to up your game, Terry. I'm thinking 50 Shades was always vanilla. Compared to some of this shit I read, that's nothing. A lot of fanfic on sci-fi erotica and should generally be avoided. Well, that kind of goes with a lot of the erotica period. It's like anything else. There's a lot of bad out there. There's also a lot of good. It's just you gotta get through the bad stuff. That's a good question. Horror erotica, so Garaga. Garaga has not been horror erotica. It has erotic elements in it, but it has not been full-blown erotica, so to speak. However, that doesn't mean I don't have those stories outlined, some of them in various stages of completion through various timelines and periods of history that I want to talk about, including the Crusades, the French Revolution, the Irish Republican War, Houston starting to become a real city, and then other stuff that was going on in the 70s around here up to the 2000s. I would never have all that kind of shit in mind and outlined and have the chance to kind of go kind of full crazy with that. So it'd be one of those things where if I could put out two versions of the book, there would be the version for the people who want to read the mild erotica, and there would be the other one that have pretty graphic sex. It'd be the same story, just some scenes omitted.
You could write the, differently flavored stuff and make those Patreon exclusive.
That is also true. That is also true. That would also be rather fascinating.
Here, JR is pushing this. I'm going to go ahead and, put it up there so I can bust his chops a little bit on that. Have you guys tried the AI program for authors called Author AI that does book breakdowns? I was like, why would I want to feed my novel into an AI to help it figure out how to write novels? It can go bite me.
Me personally, I don't want to do that because I don't want any of my stuff used for an ML that I don't have control over. In case you hadn't noticed, I kind of get more and more controlling about what information I want to share or what I want to make available in certain instances. It's getting worse and worse because I'm seeing how it's being abused and more abused every day. And that's why I'm getting, out of certain things that I was in for a long time that were out there, like Twitter, Facebook, etc. I was in there at the beginning to some extent. So leaving those kinds of things was a big deal, but it was time. Everything's been abused and etc. And I'm just unplugging. So you can find my ass at Mastodon, but I will not be feeding my stuff into any kind of AI system or for any kind of ML training. That's not happening. Not unless it's on my computer. If it's on my computer, it's my business. But I'm not sharing my stuff with anybody like that. They can steal it the old-fashioned way. Jared says it tested it, gave interesting feedback. It was cheaper than an editor, but get your fears. I'm just too poor right now to let it stop me.
Allow me to suggest Grammarly then.
Yeah, that's probably a better option.
Because while that is $100 and some odd bucks a year, I think, at least you can pay attention to most of the. I when I'm using Grammarly, I pay attention to one section where it's talking about the spelling issues and things like that, and the other issues where it's talking about context and whatnot. Those I generally end up striking and not using 2/3 or more of what they suggest.
Yeah.
But I look at the suggestions. I look at everyone and say, is it unclear? Do I need to tweak something there? And the rules I don't like, I turn them off. So every chapter will get its turn through Grammarly before it goes to an editor. And the editor says it's pretty darn clean when it gets to her. So if you're looking for something to help you with something like that, I would suggest Grammarly.
Yeah. And also, you should know enough people to have a beta reader circle, at least, to help you catch the big stuff that you miss.
Beta readers are pretty hit or miss. They're not as comprehensive as running it through something like this.
True. One called Chuck says, Paul, everything went to hell after they opened the internet to AOL. That is so goddamn true. That is so goddamn true. The moment they let the boomers on the internet who didn't know anything, that weren't actually creating the internet, that was the end of it all right there. My humble opinion. Matt says he's got no objections to using other people's data for training ML AI, but I keep anything of mine as far away from engines as possible. Yep. See, we're also seeing this in code. In case you hadn't been keeping track of this, Microsoft released a thingy for GitHub, which is baking, I think it's called Code Pilot, which is basically going through and stealing people's code on GitHub to figure out how to model how the code should be written. And then using filters and engines to fix all that. But essentially, they did not ask permission, which is usually how these fuckers do things. So it's a problem everywhere. It's not just one thing with cover design. It is everywhere. It's pervasive at this point, which is scary, really scary shit. Because you got to remember, anything that it consumes in the model, that model still has it. So even if the information you decide to put in there is private, that doesn't mean that model is not got all that stuff in there if it's stolen or put public. JR says it was because the souls of the sacrificed robots revolted, ghosts in the machines and all. Yeah, there's go read the Derelict Saga. Yeah, one called Chuck. Oh God, that is a landmine for open source code. Exactly. So this is why copyright and everything else is blowing up, because of all this shit. And like I said, it's pervasive. It's entering into all sorts of things, including design and engineering. Be very afraid. So yeah, they've sold everybody that this is somehow a panacea to all the problems, and it just creates more problems. So there you go. Oh yeah, I did use Kite for a bit, but it's no longer available. Very similar to Code Pilot, but I never learned from making suggestions only on what it was trained on. Right. Yeah. So there's, like I said, this stuff is moving very fast now. The only reason you're hearing about it now is because it's finally in a state where it's usable by the average person. That's why you're hearing about it now. This shit has been around for years. Even when I was back at bizarre voice. We were using ML to train some models.
I think your cat is awake because your monitor is moving.
He is awake. If you're new here, that's the clue that Shadow is awake when the monitor starts moving around. Anyway, it is the accessibility that's pushing it to the forefront. But these things are already here. That says they're just quicker versions of Stack Overflow. Help me, Stack Overflow. You're my only hope. You are correct. And as one called Chuck says, it's a panacea for the code monkeys that just cut and paste code from Stack Overflow. See how fast those two things happened? Those two comments came in. You're absolutely correct. It's the code paste. It's the code paste fail, and that's exactly more or less what it's doing. So yeah, I don't think it's going to produce bug-free code. I don't think it's going to produce readable code, and I really worry about what kind of bugs it would put in the code. So there you go. That's me thinking.
So, what else should we talk about?
That's a really good question. Can we speak in English? I don't speak geek. Code geek. Stack Overflow is a massive forum where coders ask questions about technical problems they have and to see if somebody has an answer because they smashed their head into the wall for 10 hours straight and can't figure it out. And they've given up and said, please, open source gods, help me. That's what Stack Overflow is. I'd be more worried about the lawsuits as putting into your code if you're coding for profit. Yes, that is a problem. Yeah, see, from what I've seen of AI code, it passes the initial sniff test, but tends to be functionally flawed. And that is going to be the same way with audiobooks or with writing or with video production or anything else. It'll meet up to the standards of what's there. It'll be competent, but it'll be missing something. Something possibly important. That's just me. All right, enough about ML and AI. We're moving on from this.
We've talked about them for more than an hour. We've given them enough of our time.
We're done with those pricks.
Let me scroll back up and find that fuck Disney comment.
Oh, God. Okay. Somehow we departed that. Now we skipped into this disaster.
I actually have some thoughts on the DC reboot. I think that that's the right decision for them to make. I had to think about it for a bit to decide how I felt, but they've screwed it up so badly for so long that really, if they try to keep portions of it, it'll just keep prolonging the pain. Just cutting everybody off and starting fresh is the right angle. But the problem is, I don't think they're going to learn lessons from why it failed in the first place. Metropolis is different than Gotham City. Okay? It is not grim and dark, and neither is Superman. And they can't seem to get past Batman. So everything, if Batman was a success, let's make everything grim and dark. No. This is not how you win. We'll see if they learn.
Superman's bullshit. Bullshit character. Too many powers. He sucks. I hate him.
He's only been successful for 100 years, so he's obviously a failure.
He's a failure in my eyes. It's not something I watch. It's not something I'm interested in. Batman interests me because at least there's some kind of inner struggle there. There's no inner struggle with Superman.
I don't have any problems with that opinion. That's perfectly fine.
I know.
And if you like one superhero over another, good for you. Then that matches your taste.
Is that the only part of the reboot we're talking about? Because I'm at a step here.
They went ahead and have released Henry Cavill from doing Superman. They've told Ben Affleck he's not going to be doing it. They're basically letting all of the primary actors go. They canceled Wonder Woman 3. It's no longer in production. Basically, they've got some movies that are completed that are coming out into next year, but they are just the ones that are trailing out, and they're going to start over with a reboot of Superman in his young years and redo the whole thing with a whole new cast of characters playing this, whole new actors. So it's truly going to be a reboot of the universe.
And they're doing the same thing for Marvel?
No, they are not. I don't know what he said about Marvel. What did he say about Marvel?
Shake up some Marvel.
I don't know I don't know that there's any shakeups in Marvel. What shakeups are you talking about?
I thought there was
JR?
something about directors. I didn't catch everything. I don't really keep up to date on that horse shit. But Honestly think there is superhero fatigue. I have superhero fatigue in a major way, JR. Major.
Marvel still seems to be doing very well, whereas DC seems to be sucking butt. So obviously they're doing something wrong.
Oh, Henry Cavill and the Warhammer show.
He has signed up to be an executive producer with an Amazon Warhammer 40K show. And I assume also the lead actor. So he's at loose ends since he left doing, what was that show that he does? I've forgotten. The one where he played Geralt.
Oh, Witcher.
Witcher. He left Witcher, and now he's not being Superman, so he has to go find some work somewhere. They approached him to do this, and he's been a long time Warhammer 40K player, and he's all about that shit. So he's on board. I think it's going to be true to, hopefully, since he's an executive producer, it's going to be truer to what Warhammer 40K is supposed to be than it might otherwise be. I'm not sure that I'll ever get into it because that's where the whole grimdark thing came from, and I'm not a huge fan of grimdark. So I might say, rock on, folks. Appreciate this thing if that's your bag, but I don't know that I'm going to like it.
Yeah, I doubt I'll be into that. So I do not have a very good opinion of the publisher of that entire universe, but that's a whole nother thing altogether. Matt says Metropolis versus Gotham is almost the same argument as Star Trek versus Star Wars. He loves both sets, but for different reasons.
It's true.
Yeah.
We don't want to make our Star Trek look like Star Wars, and we don't want to make our Star Wars feel like Star Trek. You've got to be true to the universe in each. And as long as you are, then you'll have happy fans. It's when you try to make one look and feel like the other that you run into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Money for the money throne. Yeah, pretty much. It would be nice.
When I was trying to read what he said, you just unclicked it on me. What does it say here? Marvel is shaking it up because the MCU is not a hit with fans. I don't know what he means.
I don't either. Something derogatory, but I'm not quite sure about
Is he
what.
talking She-Hulk? Because I don't know that I care one way or the other. I watched, I think, half of the first season, and I need to watch the rest. I appreciate it for what it is. I liked it well enough. Do I think it's the best show out there? I don't.
It's a spoof, isn't it? Essentially, it's ridiculous.
Sort of. But I don't know. I don't know what his complaint is. I don't know that I'm going to put it this way. I don't believe the Marvel universe is having problems. Some of the fans may be having problems with it, but that's their problem.
That's nothing new.
They're financially still successful, so take that for what you will.
Fandoms suck. They just suck. They will always suck. Give us something new. No, that's not what we want. We want something else. No, we won't want that either. But we want something new. We don't want the same old shit.
Leanne Burwell says DC did well with TV shows. Maybe they should stick to that. And they did. I'm not sure how much they had to do with it because the TV shows were being done by a separate entity at the time. And that's why a bunch of them were killed because of before the merger.
I got too much light. That's always said in this office, but it's worse than ever.
I don't follow anything on Twitter. I'm going to put what JR is saying here, but I think we're going to leave this particular section behind here. MCU reboots is being called MCU by the fandom for its focus on strong female characters as the main focus. Fans are in revolt. Follow it on Twitter. I'm not going to follow anything on Twitter. I don't belong to Twitter. I don't care about Twitter.
And fandoms suck. Fuck off.
Fandoms, look at any fandom out there, and they're filled with misogynists and idiots for a lot of the part. The ones that are vocal are anyway. I have nothing against strong female characters as the main focus. Not everything has to be a strong female character, but I think that their complaints about She-Hulk are misguided. And I'm not going to discuss the MCU any further on that.
Oops,
come on.
Sorry. I clicked off. You clicked off. We're all clicking off. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they think they're going to do. I wish they would just give up on these IPs to a certain degree and move to something else, for fuck's sake. God, there's so many stories to be told, and they just keep bringing the same shit over and over again. Why don't people get tired of this? I mean, how many fucking times can you watch Batman do something, or the Hulk, or somebody else, or whatever the fuck?
It's true of anybody that's doing any property at all. They're not going to create new content. They're going to go ahead and create something old.
That would drive me nuts.
Although I have to confess, I did see a trailer for a movie called 65 the other day, and it's got the guy that played Kylo Ren in it. I forget the actor's name.
Okay.
But he's the pilot on board a cargo ship carrying a bunch of people in cold sleep, and it runs into trouble and crashes on an alien planet, and he manages to wake up one of the survivors.
Yeah.
And it's got dinosaurs. He's crashed 65 million years in the past. And you got to say, that's original. Okay? That's original. That's them doing something that's different than everybody else.
Horse shit.
Horse shit?
How many times have you had a spacecraft going back in time or land on a different planet? For fuck's sake, land in the Lost. For fuck's sake, come on.
Damn you, dirty apes!
I mean, come the fuck on.
I don't know.
It'll be new to you if you don't know anything about it. About the predecessors, it'll be new to you. Oh my God.
It's different. If you watch the trailer, it's obvious it's being done by, oh God, what is that director's name? He's always doing these really wacky horror bullshit things. I'll have to look it up here. I'll look it up because I can't remember his name.
There's so many possible names in that.
It is... Who is doing this?
Dinosaurs? You mean Terra Nova TV show? Yes. That's what it sounds like. Since I haven't seen the trailer and know nothing about the show, it's unfair for me to make any comments like that. But
Sam Raimi.
Sounds like. Who?
Sam Raimi.
Oh, Sam Raimi. Yeah.
So he's the guy that's directing it. So you can already see some of the visuals out of this and know how it's going to be. It's going to be, the shock visuals.
There's Dorian again.
He's been walking back and forth between the beds, saying, "I like it sleeping," but I can't make up my mind where.
Yeah, that's why he wants to go drive Daddy crazy. Says JR says, go check out the movie trailer for Megan, a robot as child companion that goes off track. An excellent film for that is a movie called The Machine. If you haven't seen that one, really good flick. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. That's a good one to watch. Good sci-fi movie. Really excellent. One more reason to hate Fox Entertainment. Hey, if Fox didn't cancel it, it wasn't good. Jesus Christ. The 65. What an interesting name for a title.
I dropped a link to the trailer in the live
Discord
thing on Discord because JR requested I do so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen this.
I only saw it a couple of days ago. I wasn't aware of it. It seems to be a horror thing because obviously you got a guy fighting dinosaurs and things are going to turn bad.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Oh, if you're here and you're a horror fan, I watched the movie Smile, and I think I've rewatched it probably half a dozen times. It is a fucking incredible. I think it is a perfect horror movie in every step of the way. So if you haven't seen that, go see that. It is incredible. Really good shit. Turn out the lights. Have a partner with you. One who will smile at you halfway through the show. It won't be creepy at all. Anyway, so yeah, that's my movie recommendation. Yours was an offhand for 65. Yeah, it's never good when you get taken off the top of the food chain. Yeah, that's more or less kind of the point of The Machine, as well as some of these other movies. Is really it's about who's going to be at the top of the food chain. It's really concerned about that. I mean, it all kind of goes back to that one way or another.
So, a movie that I'm considering going seeing, but I'm halfway considering not seeing, is the new Avatar movie. I'm just not sure. I don't know if I want to reward James Cameron after more than a decade between movies. I'm told, however, that it is superlative.
I have no interest.
I'm of two minds. I just don't know what I want to do.
So much of this stuff just doesn't seem to. It's just not resonating with me these days at all. I guess I'm just so tired of eye candy, and would love to get back to story. Eye candy has just gotten so pervasive and so fucking annoying. It has gotten in the way of actually telling a story. It's become so much more about the special effects and everything else, and it wears on me. Completely wears on me. So maybe that's why I've just kind of given it all a miss. JR says 2023 predictions. What genres or themes will be hits? What will be a miss?
I have no idea.
God.
I literally have no idea.
Strangely enough, I think Veronica has a better pulse on that than we do. Because she knows what she's getting work for. She knows all the things that audiobook narrators are getting the most work in. And my understanding is right now is this paranormal romance. Is that correct, Terry?
Romance has always been a big portion of the market, and paranormal romance and urban fantasy have always had their diehard fans. I think they're both growing a little bit, but I don't know for sure.
Well, there were all those romance authors at 20 bucks. So many of them. Wow, it was crazy. Leanne says the Knives Out sequel is a lot of fun, another great cast and a cool plot. I'll have to check that out. I love the first one. It was hilarious.
I wanted to see it in the theaters, but I was down with the flu at the time. It was only in the theaters for a week. So now I have to wait until the 23rd of December when it comes out on Netflix so I can see it. So I want to watch it. I wanted to watch it from the moment I heard it was happening. And if they ever come back to the theater, I'll go back and watch it there again as well, because that is one of the most amazing movies that I have ever seen, Knives Out. It was astonishingly good.
It was fun. For a chorus ensemble work, it was incredible. It was just very, very well done.
And hearing, James Bond do an accent that I'm not quite sure what it was.
It's Foghorn Leghorn, dude. It's like it's a fucked up British Foghorn Leghorn is what it is. That's how I figured it out. That's what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong. Maybe it sounds like that to other people, but that's how I see it or I hear it. It's crazy how that works. Those are fun characters, though. Those are fun characters. That whole show was great. The first one was fantastic. So
I wanted to go back to the theater and watch the first one a second time, knowing what had happened so that I could watch it again and see all of the things I'm sure I missed.
Oh, probably that. Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can basically see there are Easter eggs all throughout there.
Easter eggs, that brings up something that that we were talking about Marvel before, and the longer it's been out, the more fans seem to be hating on Thor: Love and Thunder because of things that are happening in that or happened. Apparently, some new Easter egg came out just recently discovered that has them all riled up all over again. And you got to watch what you put in these movies because sometimes it's going to come back out and haunt you.
Oh no. You know what? I don't even want to know.
I don't know what it was. I honestly don't even know what it was, but I heard that it was received very poorly. It wasn't a great movie.
Yeah,
They need to go ahead and show him the door. He should be done with the Marvel Universe.
Thor or Chris Hemsworth?
No, this was the director.
Is that James Gunn?
Waki something or another. I can't pronounce his name. He's a New Zealander, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Oh, Veronica says she missed today for good reason. Her daughter qualified for the national tournament in July 2023.
Woohoo!
Rock the hell on. That's pretty cool. Glad to hear it, V. Glad to hear it.
Let's see.
Taiko Watiti.
Yeah, I can never pronounce his name. I can't even reading it on the screen, I can't pronounce it. And so, yeah. So apparently he's gotten a lot of hate for his last couple of movies that he's done for Marvel. And I kind of agree with the sentiment that he should be shown the door.
Well, that's unfortunate. Since I don't really care much about the universe, I'm not up to snuff on any of this stuff.
Oh, what did my wife and I watched the new version of Scrooged, or whatever you want to call it, that had oh god, the guy that played Deadpool in it, Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
And it also had an actor whose name I can't remember that does comedy, and it was stinking funny, hilarious. It was oh, hello, where did you come from?
And which one is this?
This is Miss Sassy Pants.
Oh God, it's hopeless, folks. We're going to have more cats in this show than ever from now on. Although V says she doesn't allow cats in her studio, but I don't think she'll be in her studio.
I agree with Patrick. The Thor story wasn't bad. It was the POV he used that screwed it up and made it ridiculous. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. The POV he used?
Yeah. It was the POV that was telling the story wasn't Thor. It was his Rocky sidekick. And so it was unreliable narration of the story, and it was stupid. Okay, it really came across as stupid.
Matt says, I like tongue-in-cheek humor, but when it's so far into your cheek you can't speak properly, maybe too far. It's definitely an unplugged brain before watching movie, but it does that well. Huh. Interesting. What markets do you think will take off in 2023? Will anyone get close to eclipsing the U.S. market? For what market are you talking about?
Didn't you already answer that question? And the movie was Spirited.
Spirited?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's recent. It was one done this year. And if you have a chance to watch it, it was terrific. Now I got to look see the other guy was in there.
Some other meat stick was in this movie. To Terry, they're all.
It's the guy that played the elf.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell.
How did I know that? I've never seen that movie, and I'm not a Will Ferrell fan. But it was right there.
So watching marketing. Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds tear up the scenery, and there is singing. It's got musicals in it. So there is singing moments that occur. It is stinking hilarious.
All right, I will add that to the list of stuff. We're talking about books, Paul. Okay, well, I have to ask context because on this show, you never fucking know. What markets?
I don't know. I don't know anything about markets. I publish book on Amazon. Me done.
Yeah, you're more unplugged than anybody I know at this point, even me, and I didn't think that was possible. I have to bring publishing news to you half the time. That's scary. I honestly don't pay enough attention to the trends. I know the new book earnings report is out. Whatever that report is that Terry mentions on occasion. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen on the show.
Not a clue.
You just have talked about him forever. There's like an independent author marketing report by somebody that takes all the
I didn't know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, looks across all the genres, figures out what the average amount of money was, that people made on writing in that genre or whatever. I haven't looked at it. So I know that at 20 books, the paranormal romance folks, there was a shit ton of them. Absolute shit ton. And I know that's been selling like crazy in the romance section of things, and I think it sounds like it's getting that it and paranormal fantasy have crossed over to one another in a big way. So, or maybe it's supernatural romance. I can't remember. It was supernatural romance. Whatever the hell it was. It was very popular. It was a genre we don't read, but it's a genre that Veronica reads because she's doing audiobooks for them. She knows what that genre is all about. She knows these other genres a lot better than we do. I would think that that's probably going to be a bigger deal. Oh, do I see the EU markets getting close to the US market for book sales? That's tricky. That's really tricky because you have to compare languages and people who read that language. If that makes any sense. There's a smaller number of people who speak German than there are who speak English. There's a smaller number of people who speak English than there are that speak Hindi. So how do you really look at that? I don't know the answer to that question. I have a clue. There's a good one. On the subject of markets, do you use any services to publish in non-English markets? Terry, have you had any of your books translated?
None.
I have.
Not because, I don't want them translated. It's just never been something that popped up.
Right. Lucifer Verlag, which is a German press, they optioned and published a translation of The Black, which I still get paid for. That's the only book I have that's ever been translated and published. Typically, I don't know that I actually shouldn't say that. I don't know of a service that actually does that. I'm sure there is one that you can contact, but typically, in a lot of cases, what I understand is that the international markets will come to the U.S. publisher and say, we want to buy the translation rights. And they've already got an idea of what they have in mind and how they'll market it and everything else. So I honestly don't know. I don't know if there's any way to do that. Ghosts falling in love with people? Yes. Or people falling in love with ghosts, or it's I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. You would go. I'm not going to pretend I know what the hell I'm talking about. It's a genre I know nothing about. I just know it's very, very popular. Marketing translations to your work would be a challenge if you do not speak that language. Completely agreed, because not all images or taglines or anything else are going to make any sense across cultures. Very, very true. Very,
okay.
Very true.
Does anyone other than JR have questions? He's asked a lot of questions. It's time to service the rest of the audience.
Post a cyberpunk anthology. All trends say it is a hungry market. Total flow, only 32 sales. I don't know if that has much to do with that market, as maybe it's just not visible. I don't know how anthologies sell at all anyway. I don't know. Hope punk? What the hell is hope punk? There's a market for monster effing and the like, JR.
Dinosaurs.
Cyberpunk dinosaur erotica. There you go. That's where you need to go, right there. Cyberpunk dinosaur erotica. Oh my God, I wrote cyberpunk erotica to a certain, well, not cyberpunk erotica, cyberpunk dinosaurs. It's frightening. I did write that. Yeah, there's a market for pretty much anything out there, and the more ludicrous. Yeah, there you go. Jesus Christ. Hope punk or solar punk is near future sci-fi where things haven't gone to shit. Oh, okay, so it's non-dystopian, is what you're saying. Okay, so does this mean that future hasn't, does this mean that our present doesn't go to shit too?
I'm pretty sure we're already doomed.
What is that?
Seeing if I could get my camera to focus a little bit better.
So wrong. Hope punk and solar punk. I can think of a few novels that might fit in there. And her 12-year-old loves that pick.
And from what I understand, it's that kind of game that your inner 12-year-old would love.
Yeah, Star Trek, not Star Wars. Right. Yeah. That would be, I mean, Star Trek is a much more optimistic future than I have a grasp on. That's for goddamn sure. I would love to see it going that way. I just don't. But I can see why that would be a popular genre too, because people need an escape that's an escape into something that's. I would much rather be writing about exploration than constant war. Even if exploration leads to some pretty dark corners or that kind of thing, it's more about the thrill of adventure. It's more about the thought of going out there, even if it's horrible and dark and awful. It doesn't mean the society these people came from is dark and horrible and awful. So you kind of have a question, a decision to make when you're writing about whether, which kind of universe you want to choose for those characters to be in, especially if that's not the crux of the goddamn story. JR says, thoughts on the dropping of military sci-fi as a category on Dragon Awards? That was a big hubbub a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they dropped military science fiction and military fantasy.
Military fantasy.
Apparently, it's a thing. I did not know it was a thing, but apparently it is. My opinion, even though I said we weren't going to answer anymore by JR, I'll give him another go on this here. I think that it's their awards and it's their choice. If they're cutting out all the subgenres, all right. They've got to keep it in a manageable size. I do think that it is warranted by the size of the market to have an award for it, but I'm not going to lose my hair over it.
Why does it matter? Why did the Dragon Awards even matter?
Because it's a fan-voted award. Some people put a lot of stock in awards to begin with. I'm not one of them.
I'm not either.
But, that's okay. I don't have to be uber thrilled by it. It's not going to break my heart that it's not. But it's got a lot of people in an uproar about it. And who knows, maybe a few years they'll change their mind. It's not like the military science fiction hasn't been being won by just a couple of people over that time frame.
Yeah, that may be why, too. It gets kind of ridiculous at some point. It's like the fan base poll of who's the best musician. And I remember that in the 80s, and they chose some hair band. And it's like, these people could not drum Neil Peart if their lives depended on it and couldn't play bass like Geddy Lee. So how are we judging musician here? If we're talking about popularity, that's different from saying best musician. And I think it's the same thing with books or anything else. Popularity does not necessarily mean quality, and quality does not necessarily mean popularity. And the two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. But people tend to be siloed in what they like and what they don't like. And if there's one major player in there that's going to win every year, maybe that's kind of an issue.
Any other questions from anyone not named J.R. Hanley? Because we're running out of time.
J.R. says there aren't that many literary awards that aren't elitist and political, Paul. I don't care. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Yeah, you're probably right. But that goes without saying. That's why it's kind of like, okay, that's great that person won that. I'm glad for them, but it doesn't really mean anything to me.
USA Times stopped doing its bestseller list as well. So that's got a lot of people in a hubbub as going on. And my opinion on that is, meh.
The problem is that it's become such a fucking nightmare to try and define what it means anymore, because BookScan doesn't cover Amazon ebook sales. It doesn't cover the difference between a free book and a 99-cent ebook. It doesn't break down all those things. So when they say that stuff, I sit there and I just look at it and go, this means nothing. It just means that some people thought this was the good deal, and then you've got people who vote in blocks and slates, and what the fuck? People would take this stuff way, way too goddamn seriously. It's not fantasy fucking football. It's a goddamn book. Anyway, I say your musical taste cement in high school. I wonder if book reading is the same way.
Maybe.
Hmm. I'm not sure my musical tastes have even cemented yet. They're still in flux.
I'm not sure that you actually have any taste.
I don't think I do. I just kind of wander from one place to another that looks interesting or sounds interesting, and that's pretty much my taste. I will say there are a few things that are kind of common trends. I tend to like the darker, moodier stuff, but that's kind of always been the way. I don't like saccharine sweetness. I never have. Never have. Fuck that shit. If it doesn't touch me, I don't care to listen to it. Phrasing? No?
We headed back to the 70s porn again?
No, God, I hope not. Let's not go there again, please. No, we have better things to do. Huh. William says his music tastes are so completely opposite from high school years. And Matt asks the question, do you think by high school you know what you like then, or is it more that you know what you don't like?
I think tastes are variable at every point of your life. I don't think that anything is cemented by any section of where you are. What I read now is not the same thing as what I read back in high school.
Yeah.
My musical tastes are somewhat different. My taste in everything is somewhat different. So it's whatever sounds good at the moment.
I read a ton of spy thrillers and other stuff in when I was growing up, and that kind of stuff, Eric Van Lustbader and all that kind of noise, and I don't read that shit anymore. It lost all interest to me. The Tom Clancy kind of stuff, I lost complete interest in any of it. It just doesn't really do anything for me anymore. So I stopped completely reading it. There's a lot of today's horror I don't read. There's a lot of today's sci-fi I don't read. There's a lot of almost all of today's fantasy I don't read because the stuff doesn't interest me.
Chuck says, or do you just like what you consume? I think it's the other way around. I consume what I like at that moment.
Yeah. And there's weird things that go on. Like I'll be on iTunes and we've got the music thing that's like Spotify. And every now and then I'll just be sick of what I'm listening to. I can't find the right mood or I can't find the right sound I want to hear. And I'll just go looking and then I'll find something. And that leads me to one band, which leads me to another band, which leads me to another band, which leads me to another band. And then pretty soon I've got like 15 new artists to listen to. And I burn through those. And then when I'm done with that, I'll go find something else. So it's just kind of crazy. Could be that Patrick says it could be the Tom Clancy books have been written by AI for years. Well,
That's trolling right there.
You got a formula, all the major plot beats. Yeah, pretty much. There is definitely a formula to a lot of those books. I'm not just singling him out. There's always a formula, it seems like. The music rabbit hole is one of my favorite places to be. Yeah. Just every once in a while, you just go, all right, here's all this new music that just came out. All right, hit play. See what happens. Oh,
what could possibly go wrong?
That shit. Oh, I like that. Ooh, more of that, please. And then you're in deep trouble. It's fun.
Paul, we're about there. I think you should take us out.
You think I should take us out? Where am I going to take us out to? Where am I going to do that? You know what? I have to change our outro.
Closing time.
I have to change our freaking outro. I just realized that.
What's that closing time?
Closing time.
You can't sing it. You can't sing it because they'll go ahead and give you a music strike.
Oh, that's right. Well, I did like 4 seconds of it, so I think we'll probably be okay because fuck them, it's fair use, right?
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Well, if you have a question or comment about this show, you can send an email to show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can talk to me on Mastodon at Paul_E_Cooley at verse.social, VEYRSE. You can find us on Facebook and listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs. And as today is any indication, too goddamn many cats. You should also subscribe so you always know when we go live. What else was I going to say? We have to thank our wonderful spot hoster for making all 14 bazillion episodes of the Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us on patreon.com. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/DRS podcast, or you can find us on buymeacoffee.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive craziness. You don't know, have exactly a good hold on what that's going to be for next year, but we're working on it. And if you're, man, I'm really failing today. If you support us at the $10 level, you get your name read. And your names are $10 supporters are, man, I'm losing it today. Tony L. Joy, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our supporters for making this show possible.
We appreciate it. We really do.
Wow, I finally got through that. That was awful. I promise to do better next time. And Terry and I have one more thing we got to talk about, and that is the fact that we are addicted to caffeine, and we get our caffeine exclusively from corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com. Check out their array of boutique teas, their wonderful coffees, and their weird webcomic, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. And with that,
Paul, are we doing any more episodes this year?
Technically, no.
Technically, we won't be doing any new content until next year.
Technically. There may be a surprise live show. You never know. Could happen.
One never knows.
Could happen. Terry and I may get really sick and tired of singing Christmas carols and say, fuck it. We're going to get on here and cause some trouble.
I totally don't think I'm going to get in trouble for singing any Christmas carols.
No. Sick of singing Christmas carols.
I don't think that I'll have any risk of being sick of it, since I'm not going to sing a single one.
Yeah, well, there is that.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a Happy New Year.
And thanks for coming. And make sure you subscribe and check us out and all that kind of garbage. And we will see you definitely in 2023. We might even see you before then. It could happen. Until then, we're out of here. And this is the awkward part where Paul says, "And the